Hello, hello. Welcome to English Extras. My name is Jean. If you're here, it's because you don't want to sound like a textbook. You're in the right place. This podcast is to help intermediate and advanced learners find alternatives to textbook English so you can express yourself authentically. Before we begin, if you want the transcript for this episode, you can follow the link in the description. Reading and listening at the same time is a great way to improve your English, and I also include definitions of words and phrases I use in the episode, as well as example sentences at the end of each transcript. Ready? Let's begin. Conditionals. Oh, grammar. Don't worry, this isn't going to be a grammar lesson. The purpose of this podcast is to give you authentic alternatives to what you might learn in a textbook. But I know that conditionals frustrate English language learners as much as phrasal verbs do. Conditionals are the various grammar structures that appear in sentences that discuss hypothetical situations. Many types of conditional sentences use the word if, but not all. We also use different verb tenses to show when a sentence is a hypothetical situation or not, such as would have been or would be. Because I don't want this to be a grammar lesson, I'm going to use this episode to demonstrate how these conditionals are used in context. To do this, I have asked my husband to join me. We are going to ask each other hypothetical questions. Our answers are not scripted. They are not written down beforehand. We only prepared our questions, not our answers. What you're going to hear is completely organic, natural speech, but we will make sure to speak clearly and slowly. If you'd like to read along while you listen, you can get the transcript for this episode in the description. So, my first question for you. If you hadn't met me, what do you think your life would be like now?
Well, that's a very tough question. Well, considering when I had met you, I had just gotten out of a previous relationship about a year beforehand. And at the time, I was thinking that I'd be okay if I never met anyone else or never got another relationship and just ended up being alone. I was starting to be okay with that possibility. And then you showed up out of nowhere, and here we are now, married. So it's hard to say, but if I hadn't met you, I probably would not have been looking for a relationship, at least not for a few years. So I'd either still be single right now, or I could have met someone else and been in a relationship, but I have no doubt it wouldn't have been as good as this one. So, now, for my first question for you, it is, if you could have any superpower, what would you choose and why?
I love the superpower question. It's a classic. I have to say, if I could choose any superpower, it would have to be the ability to hear just a little bit of a language and be able to immediately speak that language. It has to be. Okay, for you, my second question. We've talked about this before, but I think that it's worth returning to. What would you do if you won the lottery?
Well, if I won the lottery, I definitely wouldn't do what I see a lot of other people do, which is buy expensive houses and cars and boats and things like that. That stuff dries up quick and you'll end up with no money again from what we've seen in the news. So if I won the lottery, I would first and foremost pay off all my debts and the debts of you, my wife, and of my close family and friends. I would take care of everyone's debts, make sure everyone's debt-free, and with any remaining money after that, I would honestly put it in a savings account with a high interest rate and let it keep making money over and over, and I would just try to maintain basically the same level of lifestyle I have now, Maybe just with a few more perks here and there, a few more trips every now and then, splurging every now and then, but overall, the same basic quality of life. I just have a big safety net in the bank.
I'm sure you've seen those memes that say, if I won the lottery, I wouldn't tell anyone, but there would be signs. What would be the sign that you won if anyone was paying attention?
Yeah. So if I didn't tell anyone I won the lottery, but they came over to my house and saw an extensive Pokemon card collection of very old and valuable cards, B, various music memorabilia and or guitars, and C, I think that'd be about it. Those would be some signs that I may have won the lottery. But everything else would be the same. Okay, my second question for you. If you had to choose one of your senses to lose permanently, which would it be and why?
This is such a good question. So, when he's talking about senses, he's referring to the 5 classic senses are sight, smell, taste, hearing, and touch. So if I had to choose one to lose permanently, which would it be and why? Oh, they say that when you lose one sense, your other senses start to go into overdrive to compensate. So, I would probably say, if I had to, maybe my sense of taste, because I've already had a little bit of experience with that, and it sucked. It really did. It sucked when I had COVID and when you had COVID too. We both lost our sense of smell and our sense of taste. And it really sucked to have something like McDonald's and knowing what it's supposed to taste like. And it tasted awful. It tasted horrendous. But I think comparing like the pros and cons of losing the other senses, I have to say that probably I could live without taste. Be like, it would suck, but it wouldn't impede my daily life the way that losing my sight would or losing my hearing would, right? Because I see on TikTok a lot of content creators who are blind, content creators who are deaf, and they share their experiences. And like, this world is not, or certainly America is not set up for those kinds of disabilities. So I feel like if I had to lose a sense, it would probably be taste, because it wouldn't affect my day-to-day life the way that losing my sight or losing my hearing would be. And so I guess in the same vein, I would also be okay, I think, losing my sense of smell. But I think between the two, probably sense of taste, would be the one I would choose if I absolutely had to. Okay, my third question for you. You are a born and raised Floridian. You've always lived in Florida, with a few visits to the UK. So if you had been the one born in Kentucky, not me, how do you think your life would have been different?
Well, I'm a pretty big believer in the effect environment has on shaping who you are as a person as you grow up. You know, the nature versus nurture argument. So, had I been born in Kentucky and not Florida, and raised there and stayed there, I think I'd be quite different from who I am now. Honestly, I think I mean, there's things, surface level things like interests where I'd probably be more interested in trucks, camping, guns, right? Horses, basketball, things that are associated with Kentucky. Alcohol, maybe bourbon. Um, I will have grown up with those things and formed bonds with them, so I probably would be a lot more into them. I might enjoy country music a lot more than I do right now, which is zero. If I had been born in Kentucky. So yeah, as far as who I am as a core person, I don't think that would change too much. As far as my demeanor and what I think of other people and that kind of thing, how I treat people, I think that would be the same, more or less. But I do think my style, the way I dress, and my interests and my look would probably be pretty different. Would I miss the beach at all if I had been born in Kentucky? No. But I wouldn't know what I was missing because there's no beach in Kentucky.
But one of the main reasons why you don't really like the beach now is because you went a lot as a kid. So do you think that you would actually like, or you would have liked the beach more if you had been born in Kentucky because you wouldn't have had ready access to it the way that you do in Florida?
Yeah, that's possible. I think I would definitely see the beach more as a novelty, as a lot of people do who visit Florida and don't live here. They come and especially like my cousin from England, she used to come here every summer on school break, and all she'd want to do is go to the pool and the beach over and over because in England it's too cold to do that usually. So I was always sick of it. She always wanted to go to the beach and the pool, and I never wanted to, but I did it anyway. But so yeah, if I were born in Kentucky and raised there, I probably would have a desire to go to the beach much more than I do now, which is zero because, as you said, I used to go a lot as a kid and I'm kind of over it. So, all right, and then my final question for you. If you either could no longer eat out ever again or never go book shopping ever again, which would you choose and why? So you have to give up one of those things.
When you say book shopping, are you talking about going to a brick and mortar store, or are you talking about like never being able to buy a book from anywhere ever again?
I think we'll say you can't go to a brick and mortar bookshop and browse anymore versus you can't go out and sit down at a restaurant and eat ever again.
Just the thought of not being able to go to a bookstore and browse is so painful. I mean, I honestly think that I could survive never eating out ever again. Could I still buy online books?
Do you say you could survive never eating out again because we ate out today already?
I just think that I could survive like getting really creative in the kitchen to compensate for not being able to go out. I could recreate something of the experience of eating out by making my home meals fancier, right? I could always spiff it up a little bit, but I can't replicate browsing at a bookstore, but if there were other options available to me, like if I were still able to buy books, say online, or if I'm still able to go to the library, then okay, fine. Because the only reason that I shop at brick and mortar bookstores to begin with is to support them. So Barnes & Noble, which is a national book retailer in the U.S., Barnes & Noble is always under threat from Amazon. And so I I always shop at Barnes and Noble when I can, or when I go to buy a book, because I don't ever buy books from Amazon. But I only shop at Barnes and Noble because there are no independent bookstores here. So the only reason that I shop at brick and mortar stores in the first place is to defy Amazon. But if I can find like online retailers, or if I could still buy books somehow, if all I'm sacrificing is the experience of browsing, I think I'd be okay with that. But at the same time, I could probably more easily give up going to it, like never going to a sit down restaurant ever again. Yeah, I think that's my answer. Are you satisfied with that?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a pretty good answer. It's about what I expected. What about if you could, all the food you ever eat for the rest of your life can only be cooked at home?
Like, never door dashing or getting delivery? Oh, God. I mean, I could survive. Of course. Like, what a first world problem, right? But it would suck because I like my Chick-fil-A, and I like my, Papa John's, and, I like my Chili's, and I never really liked homemade burgers. So it would suck, but it would ultimately be healthier for me in the long run. So I shouldn't complain that much at the idea. So that wraps up our hypothetical situations. I think you had some really great questions, and I think that those were some very interesting answers as well. So thank you as always for listening. As always, if you like the transcript for this episode, you can find the link in the description. Thanks for listening. Until next time, bye.
Bye-bye.